Chapter 126. The Demon World. 2. I was speechless for a moment when I saw ClassRevivalHunter's eyes. Why does he have eyes like that? I've met all sorts of people so far. I met someone who swung a sword bleaker than a snowfield. I met someone who had a heart colder than a white lily. However, it was the first time I met someone with eyes like the man before me. A blank white sheet of paper. No emotions, no memories at all were reflected in his pupils. There were no fragments or even traces of emotion. Shiny feels moved from meeting again after so long. Sensing my hesitation over how to answer, the Holy Sword reacted. However, Shiny still doesn't understand why her former owner betrayed her. She wonders if she should be angry before getting excited. You have quite a unique sword. ClassRevivalHunter looked down at my sword belt. The Holy Sword rattled, fiercely conveying her thoughts. ClassRevivalHunter's impassive gaze had a hint of curiosity within it. Is it a magic sword? Or perhaps an ego sword? You should hide the fact you have unique items as much as you can hear, stranger. There are many hyenas who seek to take the skills and equipment of newbies who enter the 50th floor. I was suspicious. It was weird. ClassRevivalHunter was talking like it was the first time he had seen the guardian goddess. If the young man in front of me really was the constellation killer, there was no way he wouldn't remember who this holy sword was. Excuse me. Do you not recognize this sword? I took off the holy sword from my belt and showed it to ClassRevivalHunter. When I pulled it out from its scabbard a little, a bright light glowed from the blade. Nonetheless. ClassRevivalHunter faced the light of the holy sword, the manifestation of the constellation that was once like his arms and legs, and frowned, like he knew nothing. I don't know it. His statue-like face tilted to the side. It seems like the item has some sort of relation to me. But I don't remember. No, it would be insensible for it to expect me to recall any connections I once had. What? Then, ClassRevivalHunter told me something I did not expect. I have amnesia. Stranger, I cannot remember anything that happened more than a week ago. The man's expression was composed. It's dangerous to keep talking in this wasteland. Follow me. I know an alehouse that's comparatively safer. Saying that, ClassRevivalHunter guided me there. Since it was my first time on the 50th floor, I obediently followed his lead. Oi! Look there. It's the constellation killer. We passed some hunters on the way to the alehouse. They were probably the greatest hunters of their worlds. But even they took a step back and shuddered when they saw the constellation killer. What kind of *T is that maniac going to do now? Will the spiders from the magic towers behave today? I don't want to get involved with him. It wasn't just hunters who were whispering. The lone seeker of truth is interested in this existence they have never seen before. The eye living in the labyrinth shows wariness toward the constellation killer's companion. The warhorse of the eternal plains recognizes you. The lotus reflected on the water observes you. Numerous constellations. I hadn't met many constellations so far. No constellation contacted me unless they were the ruler of a floor. But it seemed to be different on the 50th floor. Constellations I had never heard of revealed their presences. Annoying. ClassRevivalHunter also seemed to sense the constellation's messages. He muttered, "Get lost, all of you. If a constellation stays and keeps bothering me, I'll hunt and kill your apostle starting today. You can keep loafing if you want war. This is your last warning." As ClassRevivalHunter finished talking, the messages from the constellations abruptly stopped. The constricting air around us became a bit lighter. It's noisier than usual.
Ha!
Lafanta Ejim briefly sighed and looked at me. Some of them seem interested in you. Stranger, did you do something to the constellations?
Yeah.
I killed an apostle of the Warhorse of the Eternal Plains, before. Mayhos's apostle? Lafanta Ejim's tone changed. He took out an old notebook, read something, then crooked his eyebrows in apparent surprise. You're better than you look. All of the apostles of Mayhos are, without exception, outstanding in battle. They also have troublesome blessings. He must have been a difficult opponent. How did you kill him? I have something to say about that. We entered the alehouse. The comparatively safer alehouse Lafanta Ejim spoke of was an outdoor establishment. Frankly put, there were no walls. There were just some tables and a bar placed outside. It was open on all sides, but funnily enough, a door stood by itself. This is the safe alehouse? Your vision isn't blocked by walls. Lafanta Ejim candidly explained the merits of the tavern. Whenever you are ambushed, you can run. There is no risk of being surrounded and trapped inside the building. It does make it easier to be shot, though. Bartender, give me my usual. Oi. You know that the place became open air after you blew the building away. The bald bartender cursed under his breath. Lafanta Ejim sat at a table, blasé. Sorry. I don't recall. Hey, youngster. I don't know what's up, but don't get involved with that madman. Over 600 huntsmen around here are trying to kill him. Keep your distance unless you have a death wish. Lafanta Ejim took out his notebook again. To be precise, there are 1127. However, only 3 hunters can actually threaten me. One of them disappeared 154 years ago, and there's been no word since. Technically, the stranger is safer with me than without. You nutcase. The bald bartender looked fed up. In any case, it seemed that the Constellation Killer was famous on the 50th floor for being a nut job. So, what did you want to say to me? Knowing you have amnesia, it's a bit difficult to say now. I slowly told him about what had happened. The Ejim Empire that he founded nearly perished. The cause of that perishing would have been because he sealed the guardian goddess, allowing the Devil King of Fall Rain a chance to sprout. Because of his actions, the Chronicles of the Heavenly Demon was destroyed and the Tale of Sormwin Academy had also been put at risk. I told him everything. Lafanta Ejim carefully listened to my voice while drinking a mysterious red drink. His expression remained the same the whole time. Occasionally, he would take out his notebook and check something. I see. Lafanta Ejim nodded. I hear your story. And verifying it against my diary, I think most of it is true. A diary? It stores my memories. Lafanta Ejim showed me his notebook. Inside was a lot of cramped handwriting. It may look like a normal notebook, but it's a holy relic of a constellation called the Great Puppy. It has infinite pages and a convenient search function. I write down what I do every day. Thanks to that, I do not lose my life despite my amnesia. As you said, he bluntly stated, it's been written that I built a nation called the Ejim Empire in the past. He spoke like it was someone else's story. There, I sealed the constellation, guardian goddess, who had accompanied me my whole life. The Chronicles of the Heavenly Demon you referenced is similar to the world recorded on page 236. The Yellow Dragon of Dynasty Lake was killed there. The world of the Tale of Sormwin Academy is similar to the one written on page 3215. The heirloom that was a fragment of a goddess. You said the sacrifice sword was passed down? True, I did sleep with a woman in that world. Raviel Ivantia, the woman you met, is most likely a distant descendant from her and me. You said she had the same silver hair as me. I'm certain. How curious. Something. You may have learned of my past with a skill like exposing the dark past or historian. Something was off. But I don't have a past to read. There is no possibility that you've stolen and read this relic. It's written in a code that only I know. Therefore, stranger, I will accept your testimonies as the truth. I came to hold this man accountable for his sins. His petty principles caused innocent people to be hurt. I would boldly point to the countless people he had sacrificed. But what was this? So, how can I hold him accountable for something he doesn't even remember? What kind of reward do you want? Anger soared in my heart. What reward? A reward for pointing out my mistakes. Are you aware of what you did wrong? Of course, said the constellation killer. My mistakes come down to two things. First, I did not think of the possibility that new constellations would be born if a constellation disappeared in a world. Second, I neglected the fact that a dead constellation could place a curse on the world. Is that all? I did not intend for other constellations to invade a world after the death of a constellation. But no matter how many worlds a constellation rules over, it all ends when I kill it. Reducing the number of constellations is not a mistake. Therefore, my errors include only the two mentioned earlier. After he finished talking, the constellation killer took out a pen and wrote something in his notebook. I recorded them. I will not make the same mistakes in the future. Tell me what you want as an expression of my gratitude for this advice. Advice. Gratitude, he said. The common folk who lived in the land of rivers and lakes turned into juncture and died. Twitch. The holy sword, which had been listening to my conversation in its scabbard, trembled once. The fury from my heart was echoed in my voice. One of them was an old man who, even as he was dying, made his grave on a boat because he didn't want to trouble others. There was a young child who took care of her peers as they all struggled to survive. Each and every one of them met a terrible death. Let me ask you, constellation killer. What do you think of them? Nothing, said Lafanta Ejim. As I said, it was my blunder for not taking care of the aftermath of the constellation's death. But mistakes happen. As I said, the only thing I can do is give a reward for pointing out those mistakes.
Ha!
The red aura around my body became a little darker. Then, if I asked you to die here as my reward, would you? That's a reward I cannot give you. The silver-haired man shook his head. I have a duty to exterminate all constellations. I mustn't stop until I fulfill that duty. He sounded more like machine than man. Chinese form shuddered. That's quite the tremendous task. Why is it that you shoulder such an obligation? I cannot give you an answer. I expected as much. Why? Do you think I won't understand that noble duty? I cannot answer that, either. Oh, of course. I stared coldly at the constellation killer. Then, can you at least answer this? Why are you using a constellation's relic when you claim you have to destroy all constellations? Your words don't match your actions. That's something I can answer. I intend to destroy it after all constellations are exterminated. You learned from the case of the Devil King of Fall Rain that a constellation can rise in a world where the previous constellation died. What will you do about that? I have an idea for that. What is it? I cannot say. The constellation killer looked inside his diary. This tangent has gone on for too long. Let's go back to the main topic. This is the main topic for me. Not for me. Tell me what you want as the reward. Reward. I cannot die as you asked me to before. Because my duty is not finished, I cannot give you my death as a reward. He was probably reading the words on the first page of his diary. Nor can I quit. If I relinquish my duty, I will be nothing. The first page he wrote before he lost all of his memories. So tell me what else you want. I'll give it to you. That was right. Not many things in the world could be resolved with a conversation. I reached for my dagger, but I stopped my hand midway. Instead, I took out the handkerchief that I kept near my heart. I briefly buried my nose into the handkerchief that carried Raviol's blue scent. All right. My anger subsided. I thought quickly. How could I hunt the hunter in front of me, a hunter whose strength I couldn't fathom? My brain soon came up with an answer. Then, please listen to a single request. It was simple. This wasn't the first time I hunted a hunter stronger than me. What is it? While I am on the 50th floor, please keep me safe no matter what happens. I tucked away the handkerchief. I'm not just asking for you to protect my life. Please thoroughly protect my body and mind from harm. Of course, tricking or forcing me out the 50th floor is forbidden. You're requesting me to personally guard you? Something like that. The constellation killer thought over it. He grabbed a fountain pen and rhythmically tapped it on the table. I do not know what you're thinking. From hearing your story so far, I can tell that you are a very righteous person. Not only that, but you also have power and ingenuity. The offer just now does not agree with your personality. Aha. Are you saying you can't grant my request? I sneered. You can't die. You can't abandon your duty. And now, you can't even protect me on the 50th floor? You're quite something. Then, what kind of reward can you give me? I'm merely concerned about the traps that lurk in your request. If there is a trap, so what? You seem confident in your ability. Overcome it with your skills. Lafanta Ejim intently stared at his diary. All right. He moved his fountain pen. Scritch, scratch. His writing seeped into the diary. I will write your proposal on the first page. Until the end of my existence, your proposal will be the logic that drives my thoughts and actions. Okay. I caught him. Sword Emperor. I looked back at Bei Hurayong.
Yeah.
You said that you knocked down a magic tower 150 years ago. The backdrop that stood out as soon as I fell in this place. Pointing to the spires that stretched to the gray sky, Bei Hurayong had spoken. They used to have 6 towers, you know? But I knocked one of them down. They'll probably freak if they learn I've come back as a ghost. Bei Hurayong nodded. I did. There are a lot of things in life I think I've done very well, and that's one of the top 6 things I've done. What did you say when you were destroying it? Do you remember?
Oh.
Course. I remember every syllable. Bei Hurayong snickered. How are you, fucktards? You gotta air out the place sometime. People can't live all cooped up. Come on, I'm in a good mood. I'll remodel it for free today. Bei Hurayong suddenly tilted his head as he recalled his past glory. But why? What are you gonna do? I turned my gaze toward a spire. Right on. Impassively. Huh? Hey. Zombie? Bei Hurayong spoke from beside me. I told you not to look there.
Yeah.
They'll know if you look at it for over 23 seconds. You'll never be able to handle them at your level. Or, what? Are you going to ask them to kill the constellation killer for you? Quit it. Not even they would jump a strong guy like the constellation killer. Both sides will lose. I kept looking at the lofty spires in the distance. Huh? Hey, Kim Zombie. Look away right now. But it was already too late. Mic test. Mic test. Who's looking? Sound transmission rang in my head. As Bei Hurayong said, the spire detected my presence. You look like a brat who hasn't even taken off your newbie shirt. I'll let you go since this is your first offense. If you plan to stay in this neighborhood, don't look here. You might die. A voice soaked in boredom. The voice sounded like a public servant who obviously didn't want to work. Oh, you're with the constellation-crazed dude? Pfft. Your luck is bad. Should I help you? If you accept now, I can send you an instant escape scroll for a 30-year subordination contract. How are you? I opened my mouth. Fucktards. Oh. Bastard, you've got a lot of nerve. What the F? You gotta air out the place sometime. People can't live all cooped up. Come on, I'm in a good mood. I'll remodel it for free today. Silence. There was complete silence. Oh, my. There was only Bei Hurayong, mumbling blankly. You crazy bastard. That moment. Ki-eek. An ear-splitting sound blared from the 5 spires at once. It was like 5 fingernails were scratching the sky. Shatter. The bald bartender dropped a glass cup in surprise. The hunters walking on the street also covered their ears. What? What's happening? And Sword Emperor. A deafening voice echoed in the gray sky. You're back, Sword Emperor. I knew you'd come back someday. Even when the constellations announced your death, we had no doubt that you wouldn't truly die, you son of a bitch. Are you possessing that kid? A reincarnation? Whatever. It doesn't matter anyway. Every hunter looked up at the sky, disoriented. We'll kill you. We'll kill you dead. We'll tear your soul to pieces, scatter it across the universe, and asterisk T on it. Kill him. Kill him. Kill that guy right now. Chase him to hell with the name and history of the magic tower at stake. Hundreds, thousands, and tens of thousands of shadows soared from the spires. Mounted on brooms, they lined the air. Now. I looked back at the constellation killer. The silver-haired man looked at me with the same nonchalant face. You promised, right? Please protect me. A meteor shower rained from the sky. Chapter 127. The Demon World. 3. Indeed. The constellation killer nodded. I understand the logic behind your behavior. You see that it is impossible to defeat me with your own power, so you bring in outside forces. I judged that a beginner who had just arrived on the 50th floor could not mobilize others, but even as the constellation killer spoke, countless meteor showers split apart the gray sky. Shaw. Like fireworks shot from afar, thousands of attacks stacked with tremendous magic power rained down. I was mistaken. The meteor showers rushed toward us, growing faster and faster. However, the constellation killer was indifferent. With a nonchalant glance, he scribbled something in his diary with the fountain pen. In the future, I will keep strong outside intervention in mind even when dealing with novices. Frick. Run for it. Are the spider bastards all on drugs? The hunters around us reacted faster than the constellation killer. Pop! Poof! Everywhere, teleportation scrolls were being torn. It must have been a necessity for the hunters living on the 50th floor. The bald bartender did so too, but just before he ran away, he screamed at us. "Hey! Constellation killer! You'll be responsible for the remodeling fee again, so don't forget to write it down. You have to pay for the scroll, too." "All right." Snap. I've completed the entry. The constellation killer closed his notebook. "As promised, I will protect you with all my might from now, stranger." Finally, the meteor shower was thundering down on our surroundings. Boom! Boom! The meteorites destroyed the streets like indiscriminate bombs. As the storm of destruction was about to hit the open-air tavern, a hand gripped my wrist tightly. Maximum vision and hearing. "In exchange, I give up 1 hour of my memories," the constellation killer muttered. Then, he moved in a shocking stunt. The constellation killer avoided the barrage of meteors that filled the sky with only slight movements. 1 step. 2 steps. Every time he pulled me and moved, a meteor struck down close by. "Oh!" An indignant voice echoed from the sky. "Hey, constellation crazy bastard! Why are you getting in the way? Fuck off! Our magic tower's got a grudge against the guy you're with. If you don't want grievances with the Great Wand, be good and disappear. First, let's try to resolve this through conversation." The constellation killer waved his right hand. As he did, the dust cloud from the meteor shower was cleared away at once. The constellation killer himself was fine, of course, and so was I. Conversation, my ass. Beat it, nutso. I must protect this stranger here no matter what happens. Protecting means ensuring that his body and mind remain whole. There is no room for compromise. The constellation killer took out his notebook with his left hand and read it. The Magic Tower is an extremely egoistic group. Being egoists, they can be negotiated with by either using their interests or harming them. I am one who can cause serious damage to you. So, negotiate. That's our sworn enemy and foe. We cannot live under the same sky. All problems can be solved through rational dialogue. Hey, guys. Let me know if any of you know how much memory the constellation killer has. In the sky, tens of thousands of wizards were riding on brooms. One of them replied. "This is the public relations chair of the Constant Surveillance Group, reporting in. Chief. The constellation killer currently has 7 days of memories. Fuck, why does he have to have a full week?" There was the sound of teeth grinding. "It doesn't matter. Take them both out, including the constellation maniac." As of now, the Magic Tower is entering a full mobilization situation. From the first finger to the 5th, all who belong to the Magic Tower must hunt the Sword Emperor and the Constellation Killer. I'll say it again, bastards. I'm calling for a full mobilization. "The negotiations have fallen through," muttered the Constellation Killer. He flipped through the diary he held in his left hand. Search, Magic Tower. Additional search, battle. Detailed search, destruction method. The Constellation Killer scanned the diary. Then, he nodded. He took out a rubber band, a yellow rubber band that could be bought inexpensively in the outside world, and tied back his long, silver hair. I watched the Constellation Killer slowly tie his hair right beside me. It probably only took 2 seconds in terms of time. However, I could tell that the action was a ritual, one of the few that he had left. From now on, we fight. Kill them. Tens of thousands of wizards swarmed down from the sky. Ensigns, surround them. Not all enemy troops charged forth. Songsters, chant from the rear. Yes. The wizards got into battle formation in the gray sky. Their formation looked like a huge ring. Hundreds of wizards formed 5 rings and began to sing in unison. A melody with 6 layers resounded. Oh. Bei Hurayong said. I haven't seen this in a while. That's the Other's heavenly song. Other's heavenly song? There are 5 spires over there. Each has a constellation sealed in the basement. Well, I say sealed, but they're really imprisoned. Anyway, the sealed constellation's power is borrowed through the song, and the effect. Warning. The area you are in has been designated as the target of a spell. Warning. The power of your aura is halved. Warning. The power of your magic is halved. Warning. The power of your mental defenses is halved. Warning. Any penalty you incur will be doubled. Bei Hurayong nodded. The effect is pretty damn strong. The heck? That's called the spider web. That's why they're nicknamed spiders. Indeed, they were a monstrous group who had ruled the 50th floor for over 1,000 years. They drastically reduced their opponent's fighting power before the battle even began. And Bei Hurayong, who had torn up this spider web 150 years ago, must have been a monster among monsters. One strike. Strengthening. One human who could fight against that monster was in front of my eyes. In exchange, I give up my memories of the beauty of the sunset. At some point, the constellation killer had summoned a sword into his right hand. First step. The constellation killer lightly swung his sword like he was dancing. The air split. His move was more like a typhoon than the swing of a sword. A blue aura sliced the gray sky into 2. One of the 6 rings in the sky was caught by the typhoon. Regroup. Regroup. Retreat. Hundreds of wizards screamed and fell. There were also wizards who lost control of their brooms and plunged to the ground. The wizards' pointy hats fluttered like black flower petals. The increased penalty effect has been revoked. However, the constellation killer did not stop. A curt voice flowed from his lips. Strengthening 1 blow. In return, I give up my memories of the sound of the rain falling from the sky. Once again, the sky was split asunder. The power of your halved aura has been recovered. That madman. Nut job. Constellation maniac. Break the thumb ring. Break the index finger ring. It's hard to keep rank. Chief. As expected, it's too difficult to fight the constellation killer when he has a full week's memories. That damned constellation maniac bastard. All right, so shut up and attack. Charge. The wizards shot fireballs. They spat out ice. The ground on which the constellation killer and I stood sprouted tree roots and weeds instantaneously, grabbing hold of our ankles. The air was crawling. The jungle grew denser. Fog spread and hindered our vision. An unfathomable number of magic and wonders covered the 2 of us. And strengthening 1 blow. The constellation killer merely held a diary in one hand and his sword in the other. In exchange, I give up my memories of children's smiles. All of the magic and wonders were torn down. The power of your halved magic has been restored. The power of your halved mental defense has been restored. The area of effect designation has been cancelled. The fireballs were snuffed out. The ice blocks shattered. The tree roots were sliced through, the weeds rotted. A blue wind blew through the air, and the jungle disappeared. After the fog cleared, the wizards groaned. Break the middle finger ring. Break the ring finger ring. The pinky finger ring, too. All the songs have been destroyed, Chief. That guy's perfectly attacking the weaknesses of each ring? Fuck. Which bitch sold all our secrets? I stared blankly at the battle taking place right before my eyes. The magicians attacked relentlessly. However, there was no use. The constellation killer fought by discarding his memories of the drink he just had, the streets he walked on yesterday, and other trivial memories. A single hunter stood against tens of thousands of wizards. What do you think? Isn't his battle strategy the complete opposite of yours? Bei Hurayong snickered. The constellation killer also uses a kind of demonic art. Zombie, the infernal heaven's demonic art that you used is based on your memories. The memory of hunger, the memory of solitude. The constellation killer is the reverse. He discards his memories. His demonic art was the direct opposite of mine. Take a good look. You'll have to fight on this level one day. The constellation killer's fighting style was composed but gruesome. I give up my memory of taking a walk under the gentle sky. One by one, he discarded his memories. The constellation killer's tone was light, and his sword was simple. His fighting was calm, in that sense. I give up my memory of people's screams when they are in pain. However, not a single memory he cast away was insignificant. The longer the fight continued, the more memories opened like boxes, one after the other. They were Pandora's boxes. A box with contents that evaporated after being opened. The constellation killer lives with a day to a week's worth of memories. Bei Hurayong said. He rarely has memories for more than a week. It's because that guy leaves to hunt a constellation after a week. A week's memories are enough for him to hunt a constellation. Did he say he had amnesia? Technically, that's wrong. That guy is fulfilling his duty at the expense of his memories. That was. To be more precise, he was burning his own life. Shiny cannot watch her previous owners fight. My holy sword trembled. Shiny remembers that her former master did not fight that way in the past. She does not know when or why he became like this. Before I knew it, the Magic Tower's army was utterly exhausted. All of the circular rings had long been destroyed. At first, they formed strict ranks, attacking and retreating from the constellation killer, but they seemed to have reached their limit. Their formation crumbled. Wizards attacked sporadically. Chief. See, we can't fight the constellation killer with 1 week's worth of memories. We said that he was a *TTY strong character. If you force more magic here, the damage will not be little. The surveillance team has been making noise since earlier. Chief. The constellations have noticed the anomalies and are watching closely. There is a high probability that they'll attack us when we are weakened. Yuck. The one who seemed to be the wizard's chief ground her teeth. She took off her pointy hat and crumpled it in her left hand. With immense anger in her eyes, the wizard stared at me. Sword Emperor. Sword Emperor, Sword Emperor, Sword Emperor. Man. My popularity hasn't faded even after death. Bei Hurayong shrugged his shoulders. Look, zombie. This is why it's a problem when someone's just too awesome. I know well that you have made an alliance with the constellation killer. Expect our return. Our magic tower will do whatever it takes to hunt you down. This time, we end with a simple battle of power, but next time, for sure. The wizards looked aghast. Whoa. Chief, that's typically the line a loser says while fleeing.
Shh.
Don't bother the chief now. You'll be turned into a frog and eaten. I'll definitely kick your ass. When the wizards scattered and their ensigns retreated, the constellation killer opened his mouth. Wait. Magic Tower Master. What? I still have 23 hours of memory. If I use 22 hours to reinforce my strike, I can destroy one of your spires. Are you threatening us now? That's right, the constellation killer affirmed indifferently. According to my records, you are someone who cares much for your dignity. Being unable to get rid of me after a total mobilization must be a painful loss. However, it is nothing compared to losing your spire. Carefully consider my threat. The Magic Tower Master's face twisted like a goblin's. For the next week, you are completely forbidden from attacking or scheming against me or this man. Attacking and scheming includes all acts and incidents that would cause us harm. Both indirect and direct methods are forbidden, and if a subjective judgment is required, the person who decides will be decided by us. Hence, your subjectivity is not allowed. This
Shh.
*TTY pair of swordsmen are. I'll threaten you again. Accept this week-long ceasefire. The constellation killer grabbed his sword. If you don't accept it, I'll tear it down. The silence settled in the ruined wasteland. You too are on the Magic Tower's hit list. Do you agree to the ceasefire? A tongue clicked. Simultaneously, a sheet of paper appeared before the constellation killer's eyes. It was a glittering gold contract. The constellation killer read the contract with an artless eye and then pulled out his fountain pen and signed it. It's been a satisfactory negotiation. Now, go back. I'll bury you along with the Sword Emperor, constellation killer. I will not forget to record your enmity. TSK. The wizards turned their brooms. Like a swarm of locusts in the fall, they populated the sky and slowly drove away. Our surroundings became quiet. Nobody was around except for the constellation killer and myself. The constellation killer turned and looked at me. I have fulfilled my word to you, stranger. However, by your observation, I am trapped. I won the battle, but as a result, my week-long memory has been reduced to that of a day. I'm currently weak. This weakening of my power would be your intended goal, of course. The constellation killer described his situation in a very matter-of-fact way. It was like he was talking in third person. Gongja. Bei Hurayong's voice became much lower. Don't overlook it. That guy is trying to stall for as much time as he can by talking to you. Don't see him as a human. He's nothing but a weapon who moves fully according to what he has written. Yes. I gripped the holy sword. I know. Then, I stared at the constellation killer. You're right. I will take you down. Yet, I cannot attack you according to my promise. I can only defend or evade your attacks. It's a dangerous situation. It will be particularly dangerous if you are the Sword Emperor or his reincarnation, as the Magic Tower Master said. My name is Death King. I am the young master of the demonic sect and the spouse of the Duchess of Ivantia. The constellation killer opened his diary and wrote down some words. He must have written down my name. The constellation killer asked me a question while he moved his fountain pen. What is the demonic sect? It is a blade that responds to all screams. What is a young master? It is the first sword to be swung. What is Death King? I pulled forth my red aura. It is the name of the person who will kill you. This time, I asked a question. Constellation killer. Do you have any memories of hunger? It is written in the diary. However, as far as the memories in my head, I have none. I have no memory of hunger. I nodded. That will be your downfall. Then, I lunged forward. Chapter 128. Compatriot. 1. Warrior Nim, are you awake? Kim blinked. A wasteland turned into ruins. Kim stood there blankly, holding a sword. This is. You were fighting a difficult battle just a moment ago. A voice was coming from the sword. The voice of a goddess. It was the cry of the constellation who had summoned him. Though he could recognize the goddess, Kim's head felt weirdly numb. How did he end up here? It was like his memory was tainted with soot. No matter how he tried to dig it out and remember, only black dust stuck to his fingers. Warrior Nim, you fell into the enemy's trap. The goddess was tearful. You were caught in an ambush you couldn't handle, and you would have lost if you continued as you were, so Warrior Nim used the power of the salvation sword for the first time. Salvation. Yes. If you abandon something, you receive a proportionate amount of power. Warrior Nim, you discarded one syllable of your name. Only then did Kim realize what the soot was. I see. That's right. That's what had happened. He threw away one syllable of his name for good. What his original name was, he could no longer recall. No matter what. In return was the sight before him. With a single swing of his sword, the whole area turned into ruins. The group who attacked with evil schemes had been vaporized without a trace. Once again, the hero survived insurmountable odds. This is pretty good. Kim muttered. I didn't like that name anyway. I can't believe throwing away one syllable gave me this much power. Kim was a bit surprised that his name was worth so much. His name, as well as the life he lived before he entered this other world, had no value. At least, not for him. Yes, Warrior Nim. I think I can save this world a bit faster. He would throw away his worthless time and attain this valuable scenery. Kim knew what he had to do. Before that, let's make a new name for me. Lafanta Ejim. In the ancient language, Lafanta meant man of the wilds. Kim had never called himself that, but at some point, people began to revere him with that name. Kim became a human from the wilderness. The land through which the wizards traipsed turned into a wasteland. I became a gust of wind and traversed the ruined landscape. The silver-haired man looked at me calmly. Infernal heaven's demonic art. First form. Sword of starvation. The sword bore the motion of a desperately starving child's hand. Nails that scratched the sky. With the most primal movement and the most primal cry, I cut the head of the constellation killer. To greatly heighten my senses, I discard an hour. The constellation killer gripped his sword. Clash! The blade and sword clashed. The constellation killer blocked my attack and met my eyes, expressionless. Blue eyes. An odd technique, remarked the constellation killer. He was holding his diary in his other hand. Does your martial art use aura as internal energy? Genuine martial artists are said to obsess over cultivation of internal energy. Perhaps you learned this swordsmanship not from the righteous sect but an evil sect, like the demonic sect you spoke of. I swung my sword. Infernal heaven's demonic art. Second form. Sword of thirst. A coarse wind blew through the wasteland. The fetid sand scattered and flew about. Death by dehydration. Though the seas were abundant, a man died of thirst, unable to drink a single sip. To him, the world was a desert. I called forth one man's desert and lashed out at the constellation killer. Strengthening defense. In exchange, I discard the taste of water. Facing the wind of the desert, the constellation killer blinked. Clash. Again, my sword was blocked by his. Fighting like this is not good, Death King. A voice resembling the desert crackled. You are a righteous human being. Your sense of justice is built on a foundation of righteousness, so you. Baraya. I recited a prayer. Baraya. The only prayer I allowed. The red aura wailed. My blood was crawling. My accumulated memories, the scenes of death I collected, and the things that have happened on my path answered my prayers. Agabaraya. When one could not drink despite being surrounded by seawater, there was death. When one's breath was suffocated by seawater, there was death. There were so many ways for a person to die. The alley I caught a glimpse of, the ground that I stepped on, were all places that had witnessed someone's death. Thus, the essence of the world is devilish. Infernal heaven's demonic art. Third form. Sword of the drowned. The silver-haired man swung his sword. Strengthening blocks. I throw away the scent of the sea. How much longer do you think you can discard things? As long as I live. I clenched my teeth. I get it now. As I let loose an undulating barrage, I stared at the constellation killer who intercepted each attack one by one. I scowled at the silver-haired man. And from that appearance, I understood. I could have become this man. A warrior who perfected the demonic arts to their limit. 150 years ago, Beihurayong had faced this warrior. That was why, when he was fighting Master, he had yelled. I'm going to teach this kid how to be happy. What happened to someone who threw their self away? Beihurayong had fought Master because he knew it, he had seen it in person. If I didn't have Beihurayong. If I hadn't met Raviol. If I thought something like my memories could be sacrificed so easily. Then, in the end, I would turn out like the man before me. Lafanta Ejim. I swung my sword. Infernal heaven's demonic art. Fourth form. Sword of freezing. The constellation killer swung his sword. I let go of the cold and warm winds. Our swords crossed. You speak of righteousness. I do. Our eyes met. If I am righteous, there's no need to threaten my life. You. I. Our voices clashed. Say. Said. Our voices clashed against each other. I shouted, my voice like a raging wave. Then what is your justice? Lafanta Ejim's voice reverberated like the rain and covered my cry. My justice. It is to destroy the constellations. Why must you? Lafanta Ejim had said he couldn't answer. But as Beihurayong said, Lafanta Ejim was in a situation where he had no choice but to talk. To create time he could discard, he opened his mouth. Constellations are existences that deprive humans of their freedom of choice. He spoke of righteousness. Good is something based on human freedom. Therefore, the constellations who violate that freedom are evil. He spoke of good and evil. You said that you defeated the constellation called the Evangelist of Everlasting Happiness. Then, you must know. The humans there were infected by the constellation without the right to choose, and they were forced into happiness. He spoke of rights. How about the warhorse of the eternal plains? The world becomes a mere battlefield under that constellation's hooves. It becomes an arena. Everyday conversations turn into pointed arguments. There is no room for freedom there. He spoke of freedom. I swallowed whole that rain-like voice and yelled. Did you say that humans should be free? Yes. If so, I swung my sword. What are you? I am. You're just a machine that moves based on what it says in your diary. Where's the freedom in that? You have a point. The constellation killer swung his sword with his right hand, but he did not let go of the diary in his left hand. His indifferent eyes glanced over the diary. My reply is this. If I can forsake the freedom of one person, myself, to save the freedom of everyone else, I should. That was my decision, and I had made that decision when my mind was free. Therefore, don't make me laugh. Infernal Heaven's Demonic Art. Fifth form. Sword of Poison. What's different between your actions and the actions of the constellations you just talked about? The constellation killer hesitated to reply. But it was brief. The constellation killer quickly defended against my blow that contained the poisons of the world. I renounce the scent of all flowers. Whether you smell flowers for a week, watch the sunset, drink, eat, feel the wind, or whatever, it's all useless. You just throw it away, again and again. The constellations are a harmful influence on the world. They infect the minds of humans with their images and thoughts. With that infection, humans become one. There is no choice. The constellation killer recited his diary. So, to give humans at least the freedom of choice, the constellations must. What is? Infernal Heaven's Demonic Art. Sixth form. Sword of Illness. Different about. Infernal Heaven's Demonic Art. Seventh form. Sword of Blunt Impact. What you do? I throw away all of the dreams I've had this week. I throw away the pain of being injured. I throw away the landscapes of the morning, day, evening, and night. You just move according to your diary. Constellations would be better. At least constellations are conscious of their actions. Your life is dictated by words. Infernal Heaven's Demonic Art. Eighth form. Sword of Incineration. Your name is not the killer of the sky's constellations. The constellation killer. You are the constellation who kills the sky. The killer constellation. If killing constellations is your sole mission and duty, kill yourself first. Sky-killing constellation. Infernal Heaven's Demonic Art. Ninth form. Sword of Suicide. My sword pierced the constellation killer. But it wasn't his flesh sliced by my sword tip. It was the diary. The old notebook that the constellation killer could not look away from until the end. My blade cleaved its heart. Countless pages flew into the air. His days scattered like petals. 1 second, discard, muttered the constellation killer. He fought a fierce battle against the spiders of the magic tower, and he had a consecutive match against me. The memories that he had accumulated during the week were exhausted. Finally, the metaphorical gun had been taken out of the constellation killer's hands. 1 second, discard. Despite reaching this end, the constellation killer did not let up. He still had something to throw away. No, he had a constant stream of things he could discard. 1 second, discard. Moment by moment. He sacrificed his unstopping present. While sacrificing his seconds, he swung his sword, called forth aura, and shielded himself. 1 second, discard. All right. 1 second, discard. That was the way he screamed. 1 second, discard. The infernal heavens was a sword that responded to all screams. 1 second, discard. I came all the way here with the screams of the snowfield, the screams of the heart, the child, and in the end, of course it was his scream, the one that caused the others. 1 second, discard. The constellation killer muttered and swung his sword. There was no tone in his voice, so it was colorless. His eyes did not carry his feelings, so they were indifferent. The colorless and indifferent man's silver hair became disheveled as he continued to block my attacks. 1 second. Then, my sword cut his shoulder. Discard. We did not stop. 1 second. Without stopping, we swung our swords. Blood spilled from his shoulder. Blood burst from his calves. Each time my sword connected, red spilled onto the gray wasteland. I buried my sword into the constellation killer's chest. He was unable to stop my advance. Thud. The constellation killer fell backwards. I pinned him down so he couldn't move an inch, raising my sword high. Lafanta Ejim. 1 second. I will reap your scream. And I pierced the constellation killer's heart. Blood gurgled back from his mouth. His esophagus was blocked. He couldn't speak. The constellation killer looked up at me with eyes devoid of emotion. As he looked up, he moved his lips, but his voice was blocked by his blood. But that was just how screams were. Blood flowed from the chest that once contained the heartbeat to the mouth that once contained his voice. The blood spread to our surroundings more and more in concentric circles. The constellation killer's hair, a silver halfway between white and gray, was soaked in the pool of blood. Slowly. He closed his eyes. Your presence has become more pronounced. A small voice sounded. Death King's level is growing. Your skill slots are expanding. Now, your hunter rank is C class. May luck be with you. It didn't stop there. Your presence has become more pronounced. Death King's level is growing. The tower's voice resounded. It was like all my actions so far were coming to fruition at once. Your skill slots are expanding. Now, your hunter rank is B class. May luck be with you. Everywhere, it grew silent. I quietly pulled the blade from the constellation killer's heart. His corpse looked docile. He lay in the pool of his own blood without expression, like someone who had been destined to die from the beginning. At that moment, Lone Seeker of Truth is shocked by the death of the constellation killer. The eye living in the labyrinth looks wary of you at this unbelievable event. The warhorse of the eternal plains expresses amazement at the constellation killer's death. The world was astonished. Chapter 129. Compatriot. 2. What? Of course, it wasn't only the constellations who reacted to the death of the constellation killer. What? Wait. What? Did the constellation killer just die? Really? A dull voice resounded in the gray sky. The chief of the wizards who had just warred against the constellation killer, the so-called magic tower master, was in shock. That voice was only the beginning. People started to flock to the wasteland. One by one, the hunters who had fled the battle between the constellation killer and the magic tower approached. No way. The constellation killer died? Who is that guy? I've never heard of the Sword Emperor. Fuck, that crazy mofo bastard was reincarnated. Though they were shocked, they did not rush and pile on top of me. There was an alertness in their eyes. They were wary of a newcomer who had suddenly hunted the constellation killer. It's dangerous. I should disappear before I draw more attention. I caught my breath, which had become feverish during my fight with the constellation killer. If they discover that my fighting prowess is less than they think, I don't know when or how they'll attack. I was only able to hunt the constellation killer through a trap. If we were both fully prepared, I would have lost 100% no matter how many times we fought. The other hunters weren't aware of this fact yet. It was really lucky that they weren't. I should hurry. I put the constellation killer's body on my back and muttered, "Transmit." I muttered again, but it was the same. I remained in the desolate field. The glutinous blood from the constellation killer's corpse soaked my back. Hundreds of hunters stared at me in confusion. Suddenly, an ominous premonition swept over me. The stage-clear announcement hasn't been made yet. The constellation killer was unmistakably dead. And yet, no voice declared to me that the stage has been cleared. Why? Was something lacking? I desperately tried to think of what happened. Was it not enough to kill the constellation killer? Was the tower refusing to recognize the 50th floor as cleared since the constellation killer wasn't the master of the 50th floor? Why is he like that? He's just standing still. Hold on, my observation skill says that guy's level is only B class. B class? While I was urgently thinking, the hunters began to murmur. The air of astonishment ebbed away. Astonishment slowly turned into alertness, and alertness soon became suspicion. Don't joke. Well, he must have a camouflage skill. The constellation killer is at least S-class, so there's no way he'd die to a B-class. Hey! Somebody talk to him. Are there any hunters who were active when the Sword Emperor was alive? I broke out in a cold sweat. This isn't good. Uneasiness rippled through the air. It wasn't just because I could see the hunters sniffing about. It wasn't because each of those hunters was a higher level than me and thus dangerous. The sense that I'd missed something. A hunter's intuition. I instinctively looked to my side. Next to me, Beihurayung was smirking. What are you looking at? Speak honestly. You know something, don't you? I don't know what you mean. I already gave you all the advice I'll give. Saying so, Beihurayung grinned. The corners of his mouth were filled with mischief.
Shh.
T, cursing in my mind, I recalled the advice he gave me. Gongja. Don't see him as a human. He's nothing but a weapon that moves fully according to what he has written. Not a human but a weapon. A fighting machine. What would I do if I was Lafanta Ejim? He's a man who calculates everything obsessively. Wouldn't he naturally have plans for if he died? My thinking became quicker. Furthermore, Beihurayung has met the constellation killer before. I saw Lafanta Ejim's face for the first time in a trauma. Beihurayung was with me then, too. He had immediately recognized Lafanta Ejim's identity. It feels like I've seen that bastard before. Even at a glance, I can recognize that he's definitely the constellation killer. I was wondering what kind of world such a madman was born in, that brat. So he's from Ejim. I asked Beihurayung what sort of relationship he had with the man. Beihurayung shrugged. What else could our relationship be? We had a proper fight. He was strong, I'll give him that, but he couldn't dare match me. In other words, Beihurayung beat the constellation killer in battle. The constellation killer had been defeated by Beihurayung before. Then, wasn't it too strange? Feeling the constellation killer's blood drip down my spine, I looked at Beihurayung. You.
Yeah.
There is no way a person like you would spare the constellation killer. The Sword Emperor. He was a crazy nut job, but he had a noble attitude when it came to swords and martial arts. Beihurayung killed my master. He killed her in a fair match. Master was beautiful, and she was as kind as she was beautiful. Beihurayung recognized it, saying that this was the doctrine of the demonic cult, and cut her. The constellation killer was depraved. He couldn't even be compared to my master. Smart little brat. After subduing the constellation killer, there was no way that Bae-Hu-Ryung wouldn't have killed him. This is why I like you. You have to be smart to be a hunter. There are 3 qualities a hunter needs. Intelligence, to plan a way to win. Courage, to execute the plan. Skill, to succeed in the execution. You have to be smart, adaptive, and competent. There was only one conclusion. Bae-Hu-Ryung must have killed the constellation killer in the past. Only, that wasn't the end. The constellation killer bastard is a hunter, Gongja, just like you. The sky split. Strengthening one blow. I throw away the white flower I saw when I looked down on my way here. I was only able to avoid the blow because I was extremely tense and wary of my surroundings. I had reinforced my vision and hearing, all 5 senses, with my aura as much as I could. As I keenly observed the flow of air, I felt a blade that tore the flow apart. I hit the ground. I discarded Lafanta Ejim's corpse. I disregarded my posture. I fiercely rolled away, my sole aim to get out of that spot. Running wave. Any martial artist would laugh at my technique, but I used it with not a single inkling of shame. In exchange, I survived. Kwang! The wasteland was completely uprooted. The ground broke. The sudden blow had waylaid even the crowd who had gathered to look at me. Unlike me, not all of them had been paying attention. Over 20 hunters died due to this bit of carelessness. It happened in an instant. On the way, I saw an old man planting something in a flower pot. Someone took a step. Thud. The man's footsteps echoed in a dense wasteland of screams and groans. The flower pot was small. Petite. The man's life had become old and lacking, and he was planting his all into a single flower pot. For a moment, I saw the flower pot that contained the old man's life. Life, regardless of size, can be beautiful so long as it can be contained somewhere. The walker was wearing a ratty hood. One strike. Strengthening. A voice flowed from beneath the hood. I forsake the memories of the old man and the pot. A gale blew. The lone seeker of truth rejoices. The eye living in the labyrinth watches as new events unfold. The warhorse of the eternal plains abandons the plan to attack you. The number of deaths earlier, 20, instantly doubled. Everyone but the hunters with prompt reactions was caught in the blow. There was a spirited man who ran toward the man in the hood, but soon his limbs were blown away, demonstrating to everyone the difference between courage and recklessness. I overheard people whispering in the alley. The man's hood slipped because of the wind that he himself caused. I couldn't understand them, so I shan't say they were voices. But I cannot say it was mere noise because I wanted to understand them. The allure of something you don't understand. I wondered if that was a sign of beauty. I thought the sound of the alley was beautiful. Silver hair. While walking, I stepped on the ground. The feeling of touching the ground was new to me. It was firm. It was nice. I thought that maybe the people of the world would become nicer if they walked around on bare feet. Then, I felt pained because I thought they would step on a glass shard. The people who walk barefoot in this world are good people, but that is why they will always be in pain. Blue eyes. I deduce that the one who murdered me is in this group. Among them, the person with the highest possibility of being the killer is the one that was carrying my corpse. An old notebook. It is the first time I've died in 153 years, 7 months, and 2 days. The hunter who killed me in the past, the Sword Emperor, was distinctly more skilled than I. Thus, I added a rule on page 2. If I am about to be killed by an opponent stronger than me, I will escape. This is the lesson I gained after dying 3 times in 3 battles against the Sword Emperor. The silver-haired man scanned the old notebook with his blue eyes. From my judgment. Then, he looked at me. You avoided 2 of my blows. But if you were a fighter on the Sword Emperor's level, you would have counterattacked immediately after dodging. The Sword Emperor said his level of martial arts was called the Dawn Circle Sword. Your skills are not on that level. The holy sword by my waist trembled. It's hard to understand why I was killed by a person on your level. The one who massacres constellations. This means that you are smart enough to devise a method that I cannot guess. A hunter who is smarter than me is dangerous. If you gain more outstanding power than you have now, you may grow into a hunter comparable to the Sword Emperor. A human weapon. A person who plans for his own death and has made an additional body. Whether it was a clone, a puppet, or some constellation's technique, the constellation killer, ClassRevivalHunter, stood before me. Don't see him as a human. The constellation killer bastard is a hunter, Gongja, just like you. Like me, who never really dies no matter how much I die. The constellation killer was another person who had measures against death. I judge that you are a dangerous person whom I cannot leave alone. I will neutralize you immediately. The constellation killer pulled a yellow rubber band from his chest pocket. Slowly, he tied his silver hair. Our fight begins now. The world fractured. Come on, Gongja. Bei Hurayong laughed loudly. The slightly frayed sleeves of a robe fluttered. This is the world after the 50th floor. 4. I pulled forth my red aura with all my strength. Damn it. A doll? You're really no different from a machine, are you? In my battles against the Sword Emperor, there were no witnesses except for one constellation. The constellation killer looked between me and his diary. It would be nice if looking was all he did. He continued to rain down blows without pause. I did my best to avoid his repeated attacks. It was because the Sword Emperor considered the duel to be sacred. The Sword Emperor called it a martial arts contest. However, too many have witnessed this death. It will be difficult to eliminate all witnesses. This crazy bastard. I heard a voice muttering absently in the faraway sky. It was the voice of the Magic Tower Master. Regardless, the constellation killer continued to calculate how to act next. Therefore, I will threaten them instead of killing them. Listen. Look. To those who oppose me and to those who will oppose me in the future, I have artificially acquired immortality. Even if you kill me, I will stand before you again. And I vow to kill the person who has killed me. If a group work together to kill me, I will destroy the whole group. Boom. I narrowly managed to avoid the constellation killer's attack. The attack I dodged did not cut me but the constellation killer's corpse. The corpse was cut off at its waist in one stroke. This was crazy. That guy, the constellation killer, shredded a body that looked exactly like his own. My declaration is not just a threat. I will kill you here to prove it. His face was still expressionless. It was like he placed no value on his own body. Strengthening one blow. The constellation killer dashed at me. I abandoned all the beauty of the world. I had been under the illusion that time had stopped. As a wave of air from his sword strike ripped through the earth, I looked the constellation killer in the eyes. They were apathetic. Pure madness. His eyes were not afraid of any sacrifice or price he had to pay in order to act on his convictions. Yes, Bei Hurayong was right. This man was a person who lived as a hunter just like I did. It's me. I lamented. It's me if I didn't meet Raviel. Staring at my imminent death, in that moment, I gave up on defending. I ignored it. But I wasn't just throwing away my life. Don't kill yourself without my permission. Don't die even when there's an easy escape. Even if you don't think you can escape death, struggle until the end. As I gave up on defense, I swung my sword. If I couldn't block the blow anyway, even if I was going to die, I could at least hit him properly. That was just who I was. That was the promise I made with Raviel. Schwack! My sword collided with the Constellation Killer's strike. My blade cut open the diary in the Constellation Killer's left hand. I saw the Constellation Killer's silver eyebrows twitch. His blow had pierced me. I admit it. I coughed. Blood poured back down my throat. My vision turned white. Even as my body boiled, I glared at the Constellation Killer until the very end. You are a monster. You're stronger than me. You're very cautious like me. However, you're not the only one who has another chance, LaFanta. The corner librarian sighs. Kill me. I'll die for you now. Kill me again and again. Let's kill each other. Your hell and my hell can compete. The last person standing will be me. You are wrong. The corner librarian rejoices but also despairs. I will beat you. You have died. Just wait. Currently, your hunter rank is B class. As part of your penalty for leveling, the order of your skill activation will be changed. I will definitely, to you. Warning. The trauma of the enemy who killed you is being materialized. The data necessary for materialization will be extracted from your memories. The whiteness I saw turned red. The severity of the penalty is high. The penalty is the animal road. 1. My consciousness drifted away. From a faraway world, like it was crossing nirvana, there was a melody. Ding. Dong. Dang. Dong. Somehow, the tune sounded very familiar. It was the sound of a bell I think I heard a long time ago. Where did I hear this? Oh. Where? Where was it? I tried to open my eyes. My eyelids felt like they were being weighed down with iron. My whole body was tingling with sleep paralysis. Only the unclear melody, the hazy bells, could be heard. Ding, dong, dang, dong. At some point, I could hear another sound. This is the broadcasting department, notifying all students remaining on school grounds. School? Other than the students who will participate in nighttime self-study, everyone, please go home now. Once again, the broadcasting department announces. Go home. Recently, some students have remained on school grounds after dismissal time has passed. To the students at school now, please return home if you have not applied for nighttime self-study. Ding, dong, dang, dong. The bell rang again, and the voice stopped speaking. What the hell was this? I struggled to break free of the sleep paralysis. But struggling was no use, so I concentrated my consciousness on one point as much as I could. I felt my body fidget. As I was trying to move my fingers by concentrating a bit more, something hit my head. Sunbae, wake up. We've been dismissed. Only then could I move, like I had been released from binding magic. I exhaled violently. Gradually, I regained control of my body. Sensations returned. The first to return was hearing, then sight. Aha! Drawn by the familiar laugh, I raised my head. It's not good for you to sleep on your desk. It's bad for your back, and more importantly, you won't sleep well. I understand that you're studying hard since it's almost midterms, but please go home and sleep instead. The heretic questioner was smiling down at me. However, something was different. Heretic questioner? The heretic questioner was wearing a school uniform. What? A heretic questioner? He tilted his head side to side. Who's that? Maybe. Are you the golden silk? Were you possessed by the heretic questioner again? Possessed? Did you have a dream? Ahaha. Sunbae, you read a lot of books. You must have had an interesting dream. I slowly looked around. The two of us were at a library. But even though it was a library, it was shabby when compared to the great library of all things. If the great library was a magnificent chateau, this was a cramped kennel. Looking out the window, I could see a wide schoolyard. Like a normal school. Sword Emperor. Feeling my mouth go dry, I muttered in my head. There's trouble, Sword Emperor. This. I think the penalties became totally weird as my level went up. Before, I saw the trauma like I was peeping in a dream, but this. Sword Emperor? There was no response. I looked around again. Hello? It was quiet. Hey. Sword Emperor. It was silent. Then, I realized. Now, Sunbae. Let's leave now. The student council president will probably be waiting at the school gate today. You can't make your girlfriend angry. I'll organize the books, so Sunbae, you go first. I had entered a new stage. The trauma was unfolding on a different level than before. Chapter 130. Compatriot. 3. Go, go. Cherish your relationship. It won't do for the leading star of the romance who went down in Shinseo Middle High School's history to make his girlfriend wait. The heretic questioner basically kicked me out of the library. My head was blank. I didn't know how to respond. While I stood tongue-tied, the library door slammed shut. The school was silent. The gray granite floor of the corridor was slippery. When the sunset reflected on it, it was a shiny red. Nobody was walking in the hallway but me. Only calls of pass, pass, and the sounds of students kicking around a soccer ball in the distant schoolyard were present. Really, what's going on? I walked like I was sleepwalking. The student council president will probably be waiting at the school gate today. You can't make your girlfriend angry. I had never attended high school. However, I did go to middle school for about 2 years. I was familiar with the facilities of a school. First, I'll head to the gate. The columns and walls of the hallway were pale, painted with a light green. It wasn't a pretty green either, just a bland color. Even the tacky, fake color seemed familiar. Stairs. There should be a staircase nearby. Found it. It was then. As I reached the stairs, I felt a presence. When I looked up because of the presence. The stairs that led to the rooftop. A student was standing right in front of the iron door. He had a small frame. The student stared at the iron door that would not open. He was probably looking at the chains and the lock on the doorknob. The student seemed to notice my presence as well, and our eyes met. It was a face I was seeing for the first time. The student dropped his head, then silently walked down the stairs past me. While he passed, I saw the child's uniform collar. The white collar was stained with dirt. It smelled familiar to me. It was the smell of poverty. Of course, I only caught a glimpse. The student disappeared down the hall. Behaving properly? Living joyfully? With a happy heart. A poster with a flashy motto hung in the stairs where the student had stood. The words were pointless, saying nothing about anything. Rather than words, they were a failure. The poster was hideous. As if desperately trying to hide its uselessness, the slogan's font and color were cute. It wasn't until a long time later that I came to my senses.
Yeah.
I should leave, too. I arrived at the school gate. A black limousine was parked in front of the gate. Wait a moment. Let me explain what I just saw. I went down the ordinary stairs and crossed the ordinary schoolyard to reach what should have been an ordinary school gate. But what was this? There was a super high-end black limousine, one you'd only see in movies, parked in front of the school gate. You're a little late today. And the person dearest to my heart stood by the limousine. Raviol. It's a lovely evening, Gongja, my love said calmly. Now that I've seen your face, the sunset is even more beautiful. The sunset's glow must have become red to match the color of your cheeks. There were students on the field who hadn't gone home yet. Students playing on the basketball court, students taking short walks before going to self-study, and students kicking around a ball on the soccer field. They all stopped whatever they were doing to look our way. Look over there. That's Sun Bae. Oh, that's the one dating the daughter of the Chable family. I'm friggin' jealous. The public confession at the festival. This was crazy. What's wrong, Gongja? Your dopey expression is a part of your charm, but you look seriously confused now. Have you decided to develop a new kind of appeal? Raviol. Raviol, you're from a Chable family? My head felt woozy. What was this crazy trauma trying to show me? Was it giving me the gift of Raviol wearing a school uniform? Should I take a picture? And preserve it for the ages? Was there a way to bring photos taken inside a trauma back to reality? You're saying something weird. Boyfriend. I was born into a Chable family, and of course, I continue to live as a member of a Chable family. This was crazy. Raviol called me her boyfriend. She called me boyfriend. What do I do? Should I film this? Record her voice? I should film it, right? Can the science and technology of the modern era transfer a video recorded in a trauma to reality? What were the scientists doing? Why were they neglecting their duties? Raviol. Sorry, but how old are you now? I'm a second-year student at Shinseo High. And me? Butler, book a psychiatrist right now. My boyfriend seems to be suffering from a light case of amnesia. As for the answer to the question, you are, of course, in the same grade as me, boyfriend.
Ah.
To meet Raviol while we're in high school. Being able to spend my youth with Raviol. What is this? This is. Isn't it too great of a blessing? I'm the happiest man in the world. Butler, cancel the appointment. My boyfriend is acting as usual. We had a brief, romantic moment in front of the school gate. It was a happy time. There were shrieks in the schoolyard, but I didn't pay them any mind. Based on what the heretic questioner said, we two were an official couple at school. Even if we are reborn in a different world, I will always love you, Raviol. I have loved you from the past life and will love you in my next. For me, love's name will always be replaced by 3 syllables, Kim Gongja. But first, we need to live in this present life. Get in the car. I'll take you home. Home. To me, home meant the orphanage. Was Raviol taking me to the orphanage, then? No, this trauma world was clearly different from the outside world, in reality. I never went to high school. I hadn't ever heard of a place called Shinseo High. What would my home here be like? Something big happened at your house yesterday, didn't it? Raviel said, getting inside the limo. The inside of the limousine was comfortably spacious. However, the two of us purposefully snuggled up next to each other, sitting side by side. Sorry? Something big? Oh ho. Are you saying you don't care about it? Well, my boyfriend has always hated talking about him. Of course, I hate it too. Still, family is family. Tell your mother and father not to worry because I took care of it. No, it'll be better if I told them myself. I didn't know what she was talking about. I thought that some incident had happened and Raviel covered it up. But the words that had shaken me were the words, mother and father. My parents. When I was a child, I had called the orphanage director my father. I had also called an older girl who had come to volunteer my mother. However, that was only because of the ignorance and mischief of children. The parents Raviel were talking about probably weren't like that. In this world, I have a home and I have parents. It was somewhat disconcerting. Raviel gave me an adoptive father for a day during the wedding, but I was happy then. However, it was a happiness that someone I loved gave me, and it would disappear if I indulged in it. But now, these were parents who had existed and would continue to exist as such. I don't even know what to feel. The limousine stopped. Through the window, I saw a small, shabby, single-family house. It was an old house in an old neighborhood. Oh. And in front of the house was a rough-looking man sweeping with a broom. You're home. The long-haired man grinned. Kaya. Your girlfriend gave you a ride in a limo. Our son's got some good luck. It's all thanks to my looks that you inherited. You should respect your father, who made it so you always look handsome. It was the Sword Emperor. I was briefly woozy again. Have you been well, father? Oh. Please, don't lower your head. Young lady, a precious person like you shouldn't bow your head to a guy like me. Anyway, was my son rude to you? This kid's got a good heart, but his disposition's a bit cuckoo. It's all right. I treasure every part of Gongja. Keh. How is it that everything you say is so sweet? Hey. Hey. Kim Gongja, you rascal. Get on your knees and bow. If you ever mistreat this young lady, you'll be disowned. Got it? Straight away. I'll erase you from our family tree. Raviel and Bei Hurayong were speaking warmly to each other. The sight of them conversing, it existed here. I almost passed out. Raviel easily caught my body. Gongja is acting rather strange today, father. He asked me about my age earlier. That kid has always been weird. When he was 5. Ah. Do you want to stay for dinner? I cooked some amazing cockles today. Yes. I won't refuse. You're such a charming lady. Gongja, what are you doing? Why aren't you kneeling yet? Should I do it for you? We went inside. Welcome back, Gongja. Master was sitting on the sofa, reading a newspaper. How was school, my son? I swooned. Oh ho? You even brought your girlfriend home. Welcome, Miss Bansaya. Please call me Raviel, mother. I prefer using my foreign name. Is that so? I see. The customs of children these days are complex. Mother. Mother. M. O. T. H. E. R. Honey, you haven't realized? Do you think Gongja has the guts to invite the lady to our house? I invited her. I lured her with my shellfish side dish. Of course. Darling, you're right. It was unbecoming of me to expect such a side to our son. Since the doenjang soup is finished boiling, let's. Honey. Darling. Honorable EY. Dar. Ling. Honey. Darliang? We will continue to report about the popular singer.
Yo!
Suha. An announcer's voice flowed out of the TV in the living room. In the incident that shocked many people yesterday, this image shows the singer.
Yo!
Suha assaulting someone. But this morning, a report came, saying the picture had been manipulated. Surprisingly, it was a confession from the one who released the video. I stared at the television screen in a stupor. On the screen, there was a photo ID of a handsome man with a long ponytail. The informant said, I reported him as a joke, but I didn't think this would blow up. I sincerely apologize to those who were shocked and hurt by my actions. Pictures of Preta and the golden silk also popped up on the screen. With that, the photos of the Flame Emperor, Preta, and the golden silk were side by side. Estel and Sylvia, members of his group, have refrained from making official statements. There was a video of the singers dancing. The golden silk sang as Preta and the Flame Emperor danced. However, like the concert in 10 days that was cancelled, the group's activities will likely be postponed for some time. This was crazy. Wasn't it crazy? Did I go crazy? I said, isn't this fucking crazy? Master nodded slightly and put down the newspaper. She looked at Raviel with earnest eyes. We have a lot to talk about at dinner. Gongja, fetch your brother. It's been a while, so let's all eat together. Is that all right with you, Miss Raviel? Of course. Brother? Not only did I have a mother and father, but I also had an older brother? Brother. Where is he? He's in your room. Master turned her head toward a door. I felt some unshakable fear. My father was Bei Hurayong. Mother was Master. Then, who would act as my older brother? Creak. Carefully, slowly, I opened the door. Ha! A man lay in bed, munching on potato chips. He was reading a rented comic book in one hand. Seeing me, the man casually waved with his potato chip-stained hand. Long time to see. Fuck, dude. Did you see the news, too? Ha. Your big bro got fucked over yesterday. Really? I kept being stalked, so I got annoyed and threw a punch, but I got caught. My career as a singer almost ended. It was the Flame Emperor. I blacked out. I'm glad the fucker lost his nerve this morning. Phew, I got scolded by Mom. Ha. Hey. Are you okay? Your face is pale. Kim Gongja? Hey, kiddo. Did you lose your mind? Why are you fucking swaying all of a sudden? Die. I jumped on the bed. Die. Die. Die, you maniac. Why, you bastard, are you nuts? Hey, calm down. You think I'll calm down when you just called Master Mom, you fucker? Die. Die and apologize to Master. What sort of **T? No, wait, fuck? Since when did you get this strong? Hick, yup, cuff. I strangled.
Yo!
Suha. From the bottom of my heart, let's accept that Bei Hurayong was cast as my father. I will never accept it in reality, but let's say that he is. But this guy as my blood brother? This guy, this psychopath, as my brother? Mom.
Yo!
Suha coughed and screamed. Gongja is hitting me. Mom. I was gonna go mad. Chapter 131. Wasteland. 1. I know it was bold of me, but I took the liberty of handling brother-in-law's incident. After the squabble had been broken up, we gathered at the table. The Flame Emperor had a shiner. I had a bump protruding from my head. Master hit me good while scolding me. These incidents have to be snuffed out early on or buried the very moment they happen. The latter is usually preferable, but the timing wasn't good in this case. There wasn't any political drama happening, and brother-in-law's concert had been scheduled for 10 days later. Raviel deftly picked up a cockle with her chopsticks and ate it. Swish, click. Raviel was using chopsticks here. This sight existed. So pretty. Oh, I was grateful for the invention of chopsticks. The chopsticks were probably grateful to be used by Raviel. Indubitably so. Though, the way she called the Flame Emperor bastard brother-in-law made my insides twist. Boyfriend. Yes? Don't look at me so heatedly. Raviel spoke like she was troubled. Turn away. Or lower your head. I'm speaking with your parents right now. I don't want to do something embarrassing in front of your mother and father. All right. I obediently lowered my head and ate the food. What? This cockle dish. It's really fucking good. Bei Hurayong had made this? Was Bei Hurayong actually a good chef? My worldview was being shaken. But please don't say brother-in-law. That guy doesn't deserve to be called that by you, Raviel. Please just call him a dog. Hey, brat. You've become quite the punk while I was gone, huh? Master slowly took a sip of her drink. It's a little embarrassing, really. Miss Raviel, I would understand if you had acted on Gongja's behalf, but as you know, Gongja and Suha's relationship is not good. Did you need to help Suha with your family's power? I didn't, Raviel said calmly. I just wanted to show it to mother and father. Show it? What do you mean? You two probably underestimate the strength of our love. You may think that it's just a passing amusement for the daughter of a chaebol family, making nice memories for our school days and gaining life experience. Whether with good intentions or bad, that's how you view us. Raviel's voice trickled over the dining table. But I am serious. I will sincerely take you in as my new family. There are some in my household who are against my choice of partner, but I will crush all resistance. I took care of this incident to show you my skills and my resolve. Please allow the two of us to marry. Mother, father. Master smiled wryly. I see that a very generous child has grown close to my son. I thank you. It is strange to see my son be loved like this, but it means raising him was worth it. Master. Oh, wow. Then are we in-laws with a chaebol family? Kaya, I don't have to work as a singer anymore. I'm done with it. Hey, sister-in-law. There are some singers going to China these days. Can you get our group to? Suha. If you cause another incident, we'll erase you from the family tree. Our relationship as parent and child will be severed. Huh? No. That will not suffice. Find the person you assaulted and bow your head. Get on your knees until you are forgiven. I will not accept you as my kin until you apologize. Mom. I quietly looked down the table. A home. Parents. Things I did not have. Raviel went back after officially getting permission to marry me. We had set a date for the wedding. Bei Hurayong said, "Kuhaha. I'll need to fit my son for a suit. It's happening a lot faster than I thought," and laughed. Master and Bei Hurayong worked as writers. After Raviel went back, the house became quiet and the sound of two people working softly spread through the quiet living room. Master wrote with a pencil. With a cup of coffee by her side, Master thought for long periods of time and occasionally wrote a few words down on her manuscript. Her side profile was tranquilly in thought. Bei Hurayong wrote with a typewriter. Tap, tap. The rhythm of the keys clicking quietly filled the room. When he wrote, Bei Hurayong frowned, his face resembling an angry sea otter. Sometimes, he would go to the kitchen and make himself a cocktail. A quiet world. Why? Even when it was the next morning and I was on my way to school, I couldn't wrap my head around it at all. Why is this the constellation killer's trauma? Students in uniforms passed by me on the way to school. They were all faces that I had seen somewhere. Somehow, I was familiar with them. "Good morning, Sun Bei." Among them were students who bowed their heads politely as soon as they saw me. Top buttons loose, too tight pants, shortened skirts. Students who looked somewhat delinquent bowed to me. "Did you sleep well last night?" The 4 demon lords? They were none other than the members of the demonic sect. A middle school student who looked just like Demon Lord Woliong tilted his head. 4 demon lords? Who's that? We're the 4 heavenly kings of Shinseo Middle School, Sun Bei. What the? Were the 4 demon lords the strongest fighters at this world's school? And was I their leader? Then, that meant that the top delinquent of this school and the student council president, who was from a chaebol family, were dating. This was insane. Excuse me. You all. Why do you go around acting like thugs? You should stop. Study instead. No, you don't even have to study. Please just disband the gang or whatever. We're being good these days. Sun Bei, didn't you tell us to restrain ourselves while you date the queen? We've been doing that. Because of you, we can't even play with our errand boy anymore. Not that, but... Never mind. The 4 heavenly kings, right? Did you call Raviel the queen? This is nuts. Please stop speaking so politely, Sun Bei. It's scary. Things continued to drive me nuts when I entered the classroom. Attention. Bow to our teacher. The Black Dragon Master was our class president. Her clothes were neat. Her entire air showed that she was a model student. All right. President, take the kids' phones. Yes. Those of you who hide your phones. If I catch you, you die. Get it? And the venomous snake was our homeroom teacher. With an appearance that looked indistinguishable from a teacher or gangster, the venomous snake put on airs behind the lectern. He was holding a switch in one hand. I'm going to go mad. The Black Dragon Master went around the classroom holding a storage box. The students voluntarily or reluctantly put in their cell phones. And these weren't smartphones but folding phones. If not, slide phones. And the Black Dragon Master just walked by me when she came to my seat. Quietly, without a word. Huh? Looking around, I was the only student whom the Black Dragon Master passed over silently. The Count, she was a classmate, and the Crusader, also a classmate, both obediently coughed up their phones. Hey. Class president? It was an unfamiliar way to address her. The Black Dragon Master heard my voice and turned around. Her calm, subdued eyes stared back at me. What is it? You didn't take my phone. Here. I stood up and put my cell phone in the box. I felt very uncomfortable using casual language with the Black Dragon Master. I wasn't the only one who was uncomfortable. The Black Dragon Master looked at me with a surprised expression. That's right. Princess Pyongyang could reform the foolish Ondel. 1. Huh? It's nothing. Forget it. The Black Dragon Master shook her head lightly and walked to the front row. At the lectern, the venomous snake was snickering. The day has come when Kim Gongja willingly gives up his cell phone. Everyone, take a good look. You don't need nagging or corporal punishment to fix someone. With love, people change on their own. You all should find someone too when you get to college. The Crusader raised her hand upright. Teacher, Kim Gongja says he will go to Seoul National University. He spoke to me very earnestly. Oh, how odd. He told me he was going to Oxford. The Count grinned. The student council president is going to study abroad. I heard that he would follow her to the ends of the earth. Well. That means that his safety school is Seoul National University and his reach school is Oxford. As expected of Kim Gongja. His eyes are on a different level than ours. The students giggled. The Crusader and the Count were likely the ones who controlled the class atmosphere, and among them, the Count smirked. President, be careful. You're going to lose out as the top student in class. No need to meddle, the Black Dragon Master replied brusquely. I felt peculiar because though they were wearing school uniforms, they were all faces I recognized. No. Not everyone. Back row. The window seat. The student I came across by the stairs to the rooftop yesterday was sitting there. That student was quietly writing something down in his notebook. He's in the same class as me. The wind blew from the window. The curtains swayed. The child's body was small enough to be hidden behind the curtains. So, the student's image was repeatedly hidden by and visible between the curtains. The thin curtain was like a partition that separated the child away from the rest of the classroom. Hello, everyone. Then, someone entered the classroom. First period is math. Right? Yes, teacher. Then I'll start the class. It was the alchemist. I'm not even surprised anymore. That was right. What more could surprise me when the 4 demon lords became the 4 heavenly kings and the flame emperor became my brother? Furthermore, Preta and the Golden Silk formed an idol group with the flame emperor and sang together. The alchemist being my math teacher? That was nothing. Sure, why not? The days seemed to pass in an instant. It's Gongja-hyung. Gongja-hyung. Let's play together. When I left the cafeteria at lunchtime, a bunch of middle school children swarmed me. The 10th floor. They were the children I had seen in the hide-and-seek game at the Hellfire residence. All you do is study these days. Come play with us. Let's play soccer. The children, who had been tortured to death when they had done no wrong, had become middle school students and were smiling brightly. For a moment, I couldn't breathe. All right. Let's play together. On the campus where the junior high and high schools neighbored each other, I played with the children. An old security guard stood at the school gate. It was Namgung-un, the Murim Lord. I take gym classes in the afternoon, so I saw the elementary school students as they were dismissed from beyond the school gate. They were the apostles of the Evangelist of Everlasting Happiness. The elementary school students walked in 2s and 3s, holding hands as they passed under the ginkgo trees. I didn't know. I really couldn't tell why. My last class was over, but I didn't leave to go home. I sat on a bench on the school grounds and blankly watched as the students left. Everyone is alive. In this world, Bae-Hurayong wasn't a ghost. He was alive. I couldn't imagine what kind of novel he was writing, but he was alive and had a job as a writer. Master was alive. The children of the mansion were alive. His personality was still trash, but the Flame Emperor was alive too. He lived as someone who whined to his parents and was scolded by them. Preta. Even the golden silk. The students who had left campus just now had familiar faces among them. The hunters who had attacked the librarian and were eaten by tentacle monsters as an example. Even the hunters whose names I did not know were alive, and they passed by me on their way home. This is Lafanta Ejim's trauma? Wasn't it a gentle, easygoing life? Wasn't it a happy construct? What part of this world resembled hell? Here you are, boyfriend. I turned my head. Raviel was standing behind me with a smile. Raviel. You look like you're thinking. I was worried something happened because you didn't answer your phone. It's not good to needlessly make your lover worry. I hurriedly pulled out my phone and turned it on. I had forgotten to power it on again when I got it back after school. I'm sorry. I'm just a little upset. What has shaken my boyfriend's heart? If possible, I want nothing in the world to make your heart quiver but myself. I tilted my head back a little. Raviel lowered her head. With the back of the bench between us, we shared a breath for a moment. Raviel. Do you know the name of my parents? Raviel blinked. Of course. Can you tell me now? Mother's family name is So, and her given name is Baking. And your father's family name is, and his first name is. A silent sound. When Raviel said Bae-Hurayong's name, her voice was smothered by white noise. It was obvious. After all, I didn't know Bae-Hurayong's real name. If this was a dream, I couldn't learn something I did not already know. Of course. Today, during break time, I took a look at the attendance book on the lectern in the classroom. I wanted to check if the names of the Black Dragon Master or the Crusader were written on there. However, plus, attendance number 1. Kim Gongja. Attendance number 2. Attendance number 3. Attendance number 4. Attendance number 5. Plus. Most of the names were not written on there. I tried to learn the names, but I couldn't. It was like someone had scribbled it over in black ink. Raviel. This may sound weird, but I feel anxious. Raviel, you're the young lady of a Chable family. Logically, there's no way that you would spend your school days with someone like me at a school like this. Your words are making me anxious as well. What are you talking about? Maybe this is all. Brrrr. My phone vibrated. Plus. 1 message. Sender. Plus. An ominous feeling came over me. Sorry, Raviel. Just a moment. I opened my phone. Soon, letters appeared on the screen. Compared to a smartphone, the screen was cramped. Plus. The one who murdered me was you. Don't forget. You killed me. Plus. My whole body stiffened. The air seemed to freeze. Then. Kaya! A scream tore through the schoolyard. 1. Princess Pyongyang. A folk tale about a princess who was married off to the biggest idiot in the land. Chapter 132. Wasteland. 2. Look over there. Over there. What do we do? Should I call a teacher? Students gathered at the schoolyard and pointed to the rooftop. What's that guy trying to do? Dunno. It looks like he's going to jump. A student was standing on the roof. What do we do? Fuck. Somebody call a teacher. Over there. There. The students who had been playing soccer. The students taking walks. Even the students who were leaving school a little bit late. The kids who were scattered around the campus gathered in bunches. The behavior was instinctive. They felt that whatever was going to happen, it was something they could not handle on their own. Some people decided to act quickly instead of pointlessly gathering around. This isn't good. Gongja. Call 119. Tell them our school's name and that a student is trying to jump from the roof. Hurry. I'm going to the roof to try to stop him. Raviel did not send someone to call the teacher. Instead of looking for someone else to take responsibility, she urgently reacted to the situation. Raviel hurried to the school's main building without waiting for my response. When I saw Raviel's back, my frozen body began to move. That's right. I didn't know what was happening, but there was no time to waffle. I hurriedly dialed the numbers on my cell phone. 1. Thwack. Something fell on the ground just before I could press 9. At first, I thought the student had jumped. However, the thud was too quiet for it to be a human body. It was the sound of the student on the roof throwing his cell phone. I looked up at the roof while pressing the 9. Our eyes met. It was the face I had seen in the classroom. The boy who had sat in the last row by the window, studying silently by himself. But it was only at this moment I felt I was seeing the child's face properly. The child's eyes were black. The child's cheeks were white. The child raised a corner of his mouth in a mocking smile. Slowly, his lips moved. A silent sound. His words were buried by the distance, but I could read them by looking at his lips. A word that I had to recognize, even if I didn't want to acknowledge it. Die. Then. Small fingers like a rake let go of the fence on the rooftop. He let go, and the wind. The person. The students screamed. The world became crowded with noise. What the? Someone fitfully moaned.
Ah.
Someone convulsed, tearing off the sleeve of someone else's uniform. Share. Tea. Foo, this is. In an instant. The school was no longer a school. Everything writhed into chaos. The schoolyard became a desolate desert. The main building was nothing but a ghastly prison. The classroom was a slaughterhouse for animals or a farm for rearing them. The animals were always hungry. In the world of slaughterhouses and kennels, a person only existed to become a corpse. Red. A person had died. In a trance, I looked at the campus. The bricks were soaked red. The redness spread further. Fearing that the redness would stain their feet, the students backed away. Some pulled out their cell phones. Cock-lick. An artificial noise chimed. Ah. The sound moved my body. Don't do it. I went to the students. What are you doing now? Don't take a picture. I told you to stop. The students flinched. But more and more students were gathering. leaving the soccer ball in the desert, the flowers on the walking paths, and turning their backs on the road home. More and more people gathered. Stop it. When I blocked one side, they took out their cell phones on the other side. I'm telling you to stop. Fuck, don't do it. An unnameable emotion rode up my throat. I felt like I would cry. Anger. Contempt. Disgust. In the main building, on the first floor, the second floor, the third floor, the fourth floor, and the fifth floor, the students stuck their heads out to gawk. Countless faces. With countless eyes. They looked. Stop. It. The sunset was red. Damn it. Why? Stop. Taking. Pictures. The 100 faces were expressionless. From the first floor, the Black Dragon Master looked here. From the third floor window, the heretic questioner's face was poking out. The Crusader and the Count were watching from the ground. The children of the Hellfire residents surrounded me. The cultists stood on the schoolyard. Cock-lick. Click. They moved their fingers to take pictures. Plus. The one who murdered me was you. Don't forget. You killed me. Plus. I looked up at the rooftop. Raviel looked down at me. But, Gongja. Raviel's voice flowed from the sky. Weren't you the one who killed him? The world became a wasteland. The sky turned completely red. Like watercolor, the red dripped and soaked the earth. The people turned red, and my vision, too, turned red. As you are all aware, something scandalous has happened at our school. The principal was speaking in the auditorium. He was wearing the face of the Sword Saint. But I believe in the students of Shinseo Middle and High School. Redness. He sent that sort of text. Wasn't he really crazy? In the classroom, students gossiped with the faces of the Count and the Crusader. That's right. In retrospect, he'd always been a little weird. Redness. Ignore the people who are making a fuss about it. They're just keyboard warriors who would never make a peep to someone's face. Humph. Those guys should just have their fingers cut off. At home, my father drank whiskey with Bei Hurayong's face and smile.
Yeah.
Man. Sometimes you beat people up in life. So what? Why'd he just take it and die because of something like that? Wasn't he a total attention whore? Hey! Call the 4 heavenly kings. Let's go play a game. My older brother put his arm around my shoulder with the cheerful voice of the Flame Emperor. Redness. Yes, your teacher is also devastated. I'm torn, but... The homeroom teacher spoke at the lectern. His face was the venomous snakes. This is a very important time for you students. Time will fly when you become third years. Actually, the winners and losers will be decided in your second year, this year. Think carefully about what's important to you and pull yourself together. The students opened their mouths. In unison, they replied. Yes, teacher. Only the class president kept her head bowed without a word. The president wore the face of the Black Dragon Master. A white flower was placed on the child's desk. 1 days. 2. 3. Less than a week later, the desk disappeared elsewhere. I didn't know who had taken it away. Not a single student asked who had cleared it out. No new desk appeared in the window seat of the back row. The wind blew. The curtain blew. Nobody was there in the place where the wind blew. The trauma will repeat. Then. The severity of the penalty is high. The penalty is the animal road. Ding. Dong. Dang. Dong. A wretched melody rang. There was a noise masked in the sound. The school bell rang with an electronic sound that mimicked the natural sound. To conceal the fact that it was nothing but a counterfeit, the melody became more energetic and lively. This is the broadcasting department, notifying all students remaining on school grounds. An imitation. Other than the students who will participate in nighttime self-study, please go home now. Once again, the broadcasting department announces something that had failed. Recently, some students have remained on school grounds after dismissal time has passed. To the students at school now, please return home if you have not applied for nighttime self-study. Feeling my insides churn, I open my eyes. Sunbae, wake up. We've been dismissed. Oh. You're already awake. The heretic questioner beamed. But it's not good for you to sleep on your desk. It's bad for your back, and more importantly, you won't sleep well. I understand that you're studying. I did not wait for the heretic questioner to finish his words. I stood up and dashed out of the library. Behind me, I heard the heretic questioner's voice. Ah, Sunbae. You shouldn't run in the halls. Running down the halls, I ground my teeth. I understand. I figured out the source of my confusion. This was undoubtedly the trauma of the constellation killer, Lafanta Ejim. It was just that my memories were laid over Lafanta Ejim's nightmare-like skin. The same situation. The same cast. However, their appearances were those of the people from my life, not the people whom Lafanta Ejim would remember. That was why the Black Dragon Master, the Crusader, and the Count became students. Master and Bei Hurayong became my parents. As for me, I'm the culprit. There was a bloody taste in my mouth. I'm the perpetrator of this situation. I had experienced many traumas until now, but each time, I had been an observer. I had always felt like a first-person observer. But because my rank grew, the penalty increased. Here, I was party to the trauma. Not only me, but everyone I remembered. Except for one person. Damn it! I arrived at the stairs. Behaving properly? Living joyfully? With a happy heart? The motto at which I couldn't even laugh hung on the stairs. Don't kid with me. Seriously, don't joke. Cursing inwardly, I looked up the flight of stairs leading to the rooftop. There stood the only person I did not remember in this world. The constellation killer. His frame was small. The student grabbed the iron door and shook it back and forth. Clank. Clank. The chains were so robust that it seemed difficult to loosen them.
Huh?
A key. The student sighed and turned around. At that moment, our eyes met. The student held his breath for a millisecond, then bowed his head politely. He was greeting me with his head lowered. Why didn't I realize it earlier? I should have known that something was off when I learned that child was my classmate. Wasn't it obvious? What kind of classmate would greet another classmate with a bow? It was wrong. The student eyed me carefully, then quietly began to walk. When he tried to pass beside me, I called out to him. Wait a moment. Yes? The student spoke respectfully like it was natural. He didn't look me straight in the eyes, but carefully upward from an angle. My throat throbbed. Please let me borrow your cell phone for a moment. Please. The student obediently handed over his cell phone. He had been silent for a while, but the silence was not refusing my request to see his phone. He had simply been confused about my use of polite language. I opened the cell phone, which had no password. Plus. Messages from unavailable, 47. Plus. I opened the texts, one by one. I looked at them. I feel so bad for the underclassmen at our school. They have to call you Sunbae. Have you ever thought about how they feel? Doesn't it hurt your conscience? Hey, you ignoring me. Wow. There's a student who never washes his uniform. How filthy. How can you be even dirtier than the math teacher? You were so happy you could die just 'cause I said hi in the hallways yesterday. I just lost at rock paper scissors, 'kay? Don't get the wrong idea. Lives in a dump. The indoor shoes and the school uniforms are all recyclable. The only trash that can't be recycled is. You smell awful. Seriously, you reek. See you after class. Snap. I closed the phone. I couldn't read anymore. I closed my eyes and breathed. I breathed and narrowly managed to calm down. In this trauma, I didn't have my dagger or the handkerchief Raviel gifted me. It took me a lot of effort to calm my emotions. Why? I looked at the constellation killer's past. Why do you bring your cell phone to school? You can just keep it at home. Then, the student replied. You said that you'll kill me if I don't bring it. When I gulped, my spit felt cold. My head became dizzy. Then, just throw it away completely. Why don't you throw it away? It can't be helped if you say you lost it. This. The student. The one who would one day be called the constellation killer opened his lips. It's the cell phone Gongjinim gave me. The one you used to use. Because my family doesn't have money. You're paying for the fees. So that if Gongjinim tells me to come out, I would come out right away. For that purpose. You said that if I lose it, you'll kill me. A building that became a blight. Friendships that imitate friendship, love that imitates love, a meaningless thing that feigns significance, this animal farm that pretends to be special, there was only malice. Can I really throw it away? Only the malice was real.